Hello friends, today what we'll be beginning in the session is about how to become a good team player. Now the synopsis for the entire presentation would be like, first we will talk about in the session as we understand what is a team, what is a group. We will also want to understand in this session as to what are the important features required to become a good team player, what are the rules one needs to set, what is the attitude one needs to carry. We would also be performing a SWOT and an APA analysis for understanding about a team. And at the end of the session, we would get an idea about the attitude and the behavior one needs to carry about when they are participating in the team, and also the concept of us versus them. So we would talk about what are the essential characteristics in becoming a team player. We would also talk about the attitude, the rules one needs to set in becoming a good team player. We would understand the difference between a group and a team. And towards the end, we would perform a SWOT and an APA analysis to understand how each team member can participate in a team and become its strength and not its weakness. Towards the end of the session, we would also want to talk about the concept of us versus them and the process that a team needs to follow in order to take up decisions and land to a common purpose and goal. So now today when we begin with the session, I would want to talk about what is a group. What do we understand with the concept of a group? Now a group is basically a collection of people working together, but all of them have individual goals. Now all of them are obviously inclined towards fulfilling their individual characteristics and individual duties. They come together, they perform some activity, they share what they have done, and then they disperse off. They do not work towards a common purpose. They do not share responsibilities. They have an individualistic approach, because of which every individual is accountable for his or her action. Now a typical example, if I take of a group, would be an ethnic group, or maybe any trade union or any associations or a cooperative society which is formed. Now these are typical examples where people meet when the meeting has to be conducted, and then towards the end they disperse off and work for individual purposes and individual benefits. They are only meeting and working only during the time span they are supposed to do that. But that is not the case in a team. Now a team is basically when different skills, different type of people come together. They work together for a common purpose, for a common goal, for a common objective. Now here everyone is accountable for whatever good or bad happens. Now when I talk of a team, your communication is very much direct. People are honest to each other, they are accountable, they also appreciate each other's work done, and they criticize in a very positive way when somebody has gone or done wrong. Everybody wants to participate, and also everyone is wanting to add on to some benefit when they are included in the team. Now, the adequate resources which are available in a team are obviously available to everyone. Okay, everyone uses those resources, they function together. Now when I talk of a team, now here a typical example when I can give of in a team is about a sports team. Now when the sports team are working together, you will find everyone has a defined goal. Now if I talk about cricket, somebody is a bowler, somebody is a captain, somebody is a wicket keeper, somebody is a batsman, and somebody is a fantastic fielder. Now when they come down together on a pitch, they are obviously working together, they work in coordination with each other, they make sure everyone is participating, everyone gets a fair chance, and if somebody has either taken a wicket or hit a 6 or a 4 or has won the match for them, they appreciate that during the press conferences, during the award ceremonies, and even otherwise their gestures show that they are happy about something which is done by somebody else in the team. Now, in a sport team, you will also see there's a lot of trust. There is a lot of responsibility each one carries. Now, these responsibilities are well understood at an individual front. They make sure it is not passed on to somebody else. They also make sure that it is not at all a burden on somebody. Everyone shares their part of responsibilities and take up a little extra whenever they see somebody else failing. Now, another example when I give of a team is Marvel the Avengers. Now, Marvel the Avengers, there are 5 Marvel the Avengers. If they want, they can work individually also and save the planet. But they all come together, and when they come together, they work as one team and not as an individual one. So here, when they come together, they obviously try to save the planet. The way they work towards each other, the way they work towards protecting the planet in a cartoon character is fantastic. Here, each one of them, all 5 of them, have kept their egos aside. Each one of them have understood their strengths, they've understood what they are good at, and they only perform those responsibilities, or they support the other one when the other one is performing the activity. So Marvel Avengers is a very typical example or a perfect example of a team when we talk about where each one of them is working as a one and not as an individual one. Now, moving on from a group and a team difference, let's understand what's a team player then. Now, a team player is someone who basically participates in the team. He is the one who keeps his personal goals aside, who works together, who comes down for doing something for others, something for the organization, something for a common objective where people have come down for. Now, a typical example, if I have to give of a team player, is someone in a basketball team. Now, whenever you play a basketball, okay, it's not important that you have to score the goal or you have to score the basket. What is important is, if the ball has come to you, the basketball has come to you, you dodge it in the right way and pass it on to the person closest to the basket so that the basket is made. So, the person who has passed the ball to the player who's standing near the basket is a team player. He's the one who's more appreciated because he understood the importance of time. He understood the importance of what happens when somebody else is not to be there, or when somebody else is near the basket and he or she is not there. Moving on from what a team player understands is, now we will want to talk about what are the few things or rules or features one needs to set when they are working towards, or when they are working as a team. Now, the first thing is you use your strengths. Now, when I say when you use your strengths, I basically want to say you understand what you want to do. You understand what you are best at. You try to give your best to the team. You only try to participate in those activities which you know or which you are well aware of or you are best at doing. You make sure that you become a valuable asset to the team more than a liability when they are performing an activity. You also make sure that within the team, you add on something which is beneficial for the next stage to start the process or for the next activity to take place. You do not behave as an adamant person or as a person who just wants to perform a task he or she wishes to. You have to understand multiple strengths of yours. You need to do your individual SWOT analysis for that. You need to understand where you lack, where you do not lack. You have to make a meaningful combination or about yourself and the team's activity. You have to make a meaningful contribution towards the team so that the team is able to meet up to its objective in the desired time and also is able to understand what is to be done and what is not to be done with you or without you. Now, in short, you work towards the development of the team activities and not otherwise. So you play on your strengths and not on your weaknesses. The next objective or the next thing that you need to keep into your mind when you're working as a team player is you understand the team's objectives. Now, when I say you understand the team's objective, now there are occasions when you don't function well, okay, but the team is not functioning well. There are occasions when the team is not performing as per the standards expected. At that point of time, the major thing which lacks in the team is maybe the communication of the objective to the team members. Now, this is obviously at the leader's front. The team leader or the senior in charge has to take up a call and communicate correctly to the team as to what needs to be done, what needs to be achieved. Now, for the objectives to be correctly placed, there are a few set of questions you as a team player also need to question in case you find some discrepancy or lack of communication amongst the team. Now, those questions are very clear. What are you planning to achieve? What are your goals? What is the timeline set? What is your responsibility? What next after you do this? What next is the task to be performed? What are the stages that this activity needs to go through? Which stage you will be performing at? What is the budget allocated? How many team members are there? What are the strengths of each team members? All of this. You also need to understand the roles and responsibilities each team member would be having. Now be clear about what you are doing, what you would do, and also the task that you would be taking place in order to fulfill those activities. The next feature or characteristics a team member needs to have is be reliable. Now, when I talk about be reliable, I'm talking about trustworthy. Now, you need to stand on your words. Now, when I say I will be doing a particular task by tomorrow, I will be giving my submissions by tomorrow, you need to make sure you are submitting it by tomorrow. If I say the task will be completed by today evening 6 o'clock, it has to be made sure it is completed. Now, there are a few friends, if you take an example, in your around you who talk about things like, I will be there at 10 o'clock. And they land up at not being 10, and you are very much aware. If he said or she said 10 o'clock, it's not going to be 10, it's going to be 11, 12, or maybe beyond that also. Now, that is the problem with a team player also. When you are a team player, you cannot push things. You cannot let people take you for granted, or your words cannot be neglected or taken as a scene that, oh, she said it, so it's not going, you not trust her, you need to have a backup plan. When it comes to you, people need to be sure if she said it, she's going to do it. You need not have a plan B ready then. So for you, it is very important as a team player that you become a reliable source for them. Now, reliable source not just in doing things, but also when it comes to communication or passing on the message. Now, do not behave like a Chinese whisper player where you add on something on the other and pass the message to the other person. You make sure whatever you've heard, whatever information has come to you, you without exaggeration, without extra, you make sure you pass it on to the people immediately. You make sure that you pass it on to your team members in the right way it has come up to you. Do not cook up your own stories. Do not contemplate with things. Do not try to play unnecessary words around. It is also important that you set your own standards. Standards in terms of, it's not important that everybody needs to give you a deadline. You need to have your own deadlines also. It's very important for you to understand what you have to do and what output you expect from yourself. You need to understand what is your caliber and are you giving up that caliber of yours? If not, then what next? So all these basic things are all together summing up to something which is known as reliability. Now, it is very, very important that if you're an average player, you push yourself to become a better one. Okay? If you're a brilliant player, you have to push yourself to be the best one again. So you have to make sure that your reliability is such that not just your seniors, but also your subordinates, your team members, the other team members, trust you about what you're talking, about what the activities you perform, the way you perform, the results you give. They are very sure when it comes from you, it is the perfect one. They need not have an iota of doubt about it at all. The next one is a good communicator. Now, a good communicator does not mean that you need to be an extrovert. I'm talking about good communicator means presenting whatever you have to say in the right way, with the right words. Now, to be a good communicator, the most important topic or the most important feature or the attribute you need to have is be a good and a very good listener. The more you listen, the more you understand, the more you will realize, and then your communication becomes simpler. So you don't have to assume things about what others are doing. You don't have to assume things as to what you can do. You have to be very, very clear as to what it is. Now the team needs to absorb, needs to understand, and also need to consider ideas about what the other ones are doing, what the other ones are saying. So you as a team player, you need to listen to others, you need to absorb as to what they're saying. You need to also understand what they're saying, and then communicate, debate on that point. I'm not saying just accept it randomly. Debate on that point with a very valid answer or with a very valid reasoning, and then finally come up to a conclusion as to what has to be done in the favor of the team and what may not be chosen for the favor of the team. Now when you're communicating with your own team members, you also have to make sure that you're showing support to people, you're showing respect to people, you're showing care, you are empathetic towards the others, which means if somebody is saying something, you have to make sure that you are very patiently listening to them. You have to give an ear to them, because when you talk, they give you an ear to listen to. So you have to also listen to them. You have to be very, very supportive. Even if they have gone wrong, there is a way to say the way they are wrong. You need not very bluntly tell them that, oh, you're wrong. Oh my God, you've done something really brilliantly wrong or something that way. You cannot insult them. You cannot degrade them to any levels. You have to be very, very specific as to what are you talking about. Now, when you disagree with someone, you always not sugarcoat it. You have to tell it very straight. You cannot go around the bush and you have to not tell it. You have to be very straight to the person that, no, I disagree with you. What you've said is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. But there is a way to tell it. There has to be politeness. There has to be respect. Because if you don't give respect, the person in front of you will not give a respect next time they are talking or communicating to you. The other thing also, you have to be very smart in the way you're communicating. When I talk about smart, I'm not talking about buttering people. I'm not talking about buttering your seniors. I'm talking about the language you use. I'm talking about the way you write. Today, communication in a team also happens through emails, technologies are being used, you have messages, you have a lot of things through which communication comes into the picture. Now, when I talk about all of that, I'm talking about very important aspect, which obviously is the way you write. So your English has to be good first. Second, even if your English, you do not have a great command on the English, make sure you use simple sentences, small sentences, easy sentences for people to understand what you're saying. The other thing which is important is you need to understand the person who's in front of you. If your English is brilliant, it's not important the person sitting in front of you or the other team members have also superb or brilliant English. You have to come down to their levels or try rising your levels depending on what the other team members or team players are like. So you have to come to a common standard, to a common level with people when you're working in a team. Now the next, as a team player, the next important feature that you need to have is you have to be flexible. Now when I say you have to be flexible, you have to give opportunities to people. You have to be flexible in terms of the role that they give it to you. Now, if I am a good batsman, it's not important I will always bat at number 1, 2, 3 or 4. I might even come down to number 6 at time, because 6 is also an important position. If I am a good batsman, it's not important that I cannot be a decent bowler also, or I cannot be a good wicket keeper. It is very, very important to understand that you have to make sure you fit into all the roles if tomorrow the demand arises. So be very, very particular about or flexible about what you're doing. You know your strength. I'm a very good batsman. That's what your strength is. But you also know that bowling is not your weakness. Bowling is a thing which you can do if there is a demand or an emergency. I can be a captain, I can be a leader for a short span of time if the time demands or if the situation demands. So you have to be flexible. Now when you become flexible, people take advantage of this. People obviously take you for granted a lot of times, but you need to understand the situation at that point of time and then accept whether you want to be like that or you don't want to be like that. The next one is you work as a problem solver. Now, very, very important. Now, when you're working in a team, you're dealing with a lot of people. very normal. There will be conflicts, there are going to be fights, there are going to be arguments in the team. You have to make sure you are a problem solver. You're not a problem dweller, you're not a problem giver, you're not the one who's going to avoid problems. You have to be a conflict management person also, where you're solving the problems for people. And if there is a situation which is arise, or an emergency which is arise, or there is some crisis which is arising in the team, you're obviously making sure that you collaborate nicely, work in the favor of the team, give it open for discussions, find solutions for the team, and land up to good results. The next characteristics that is important to have in a team player is you need to have appropriate team composition. Like I say, if you talk about a cricket team, they are very clear. They need to have 3 or 4 bowlers, out of which 1 or 2 have to be spinners, 1 or 2 have to be regular ones, 1 has to be slow bowler, 1 has to be a fast bowler. When they talk about a batsman, they are very clear that somebody should be a good opener. Then the person who's going in the middle should become the backbone of the team. If time arises or emergency arises, they have to play well. So you need to have a perfect combination. You cannot say that, oh no, I will just choose my favorites. Because I am working in a digital marketing firm, I will just have people who are good in advertising. No, you need people who will be able to manage your finances nicely. You need somebody who can design your stuffs very nicely. You need an IT guy also in the team. So the team composition has to be perfect. It has to be apt. It has to be on to the mark as to what you want, what are the results you are expecting, and for that result, what all you need to have into consideration. The next one is very, very important, which I've already spoken about once in the previous minutes, is you need to celebrate your peer success. Now suppose if some of your subordinate has performed brilliant, or has given a brilliant idea, or has come up with a very good solution, please accept it and please appreciate it. Give them applause. Talk to them, tell them you are happy, tell them you really liked it, congratulate them for whatever achievement they have achieved. Also, if somebody has gone wrong, you need not say that you're wrong directly. You need to just be very soft to them. The work styles that you choose are also very, very important. You have to be very, very sober. You have to be very, very polite to people. You need to have an ability to manage people very nicely. So people management has to be great. If suppose you are a team leader tomorrow, if somebody has performed a good task or has given a brilliant idea, make sure you give credits to them. Make sure you appreciate them. Make sure you give them all the essential feature the bylines to them, that you are the one. You give them the credit, applause them in front of another set of team members or the world outside by saying that he's the one who's behind this, he's the brain behind this baby. So you need to make sure of that. Conflict management skills I've already spoken about. Another important feature where obviously you need to resolve conflicts with the people. You need to make sure you're managing them well. Nobody fights, nobody has arguments. You also make sure that everything goes on smoothly with them. If there is a conflict happening, you need to resolve it. If suppose somebody is upset or you feel that somebody is not on talking terms, try solving their queries easily. The next part of it is SWOT analysis tool. Now this tool is very, very important. Now why is this tool important? Because it talks about strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats for a team. Now when I talk about team, I'm talking about all the members. You boil down all the important strengths. Now when I say strength, I'm talking about what is going to work well towards this particular goal or objective. This is what you need to note down. And when I say this is going to go well, who all are going to do best at these things? Who all are good at these things? Who can be a helper here? Who can be a reliable source in compiling all of this? When I talk about threats, I talk about basically what improvements you need to get into a team. What is lacking in your team? What changes you need to get in your team? Opportunities, it talks about what is around us. What all can we get? What are the good things we can use? What are the easier ways we can find how to find a solution? And finally, when I talk about weaknesses, I talk about obstacles. Obstacle means what are the hindrances, what are the things you need to avoid, what are the things you have to just rule out in your life when it comes to working in a team. What are the things as a team you need to just avoid, or you need to just let go of, or you need to beware of, that if this situation arises, you need to have a plan B ready. That is what is known as threats. The next is the APA analysis tool. Now, APA analysis tool is utterly important again, where you achieve, you preserve, and you avoid things. When I talk about achieve, I'm talking about what have you achieved. I'm talking about those things. You have to write down as a team, what all have you achieved. It could be good team members, it could be good leader, it could be good resources, it could be a good budget, anything. So here I'm talking about what you have achieved and what you have not achieved. Both has to be clearly mentioned. When I talk about preserve, what things you need to store, what things you need to keep into, you need to hold back for your future. If I'm talking about the budget, it has to be very nicely divided. It's because you need a lot of money in the future also when you're running a team. So when I talk about preserve, what are the things you need to protect or save for your future activities? What things have to be maintained or have to be developed for your future is what you're talking preserve. And the last one is avoid. Avoid is what has to be avoided. Now in avoid, I talk about office politics, I talk about all the political games which are being played in the offices. I also talk about backbiting. I also talk about not listening to each other, lack of communication. I also talk about the bullwhip effect. I talk about everything, the bad coordination among the team members. I talk about a lot of things which as a team you have to be cautious about, you need to be avoiding, you need to not work towards, you need to make sure those things do not come as a hindrance when you're working together. So finally, when I have to end my session, I would say the learning outcomes would be 3 stages which a team has to analyze, or the team member you need to work towards is, you need to share your ideas very nicely in a clear communicated language. Analyze what the other people are also saying in the team, analyze what you are also saying, and finally decide what you need to do as a team and what you need to do as a team player in order to achieve the objective which is being set by the team altogether. As a team, you need to make sure you're working for us, that is for everyone, and not for somebody else. When you work for somebody else, it becomes a group, or when you work for yourself, it becomes a group. When you work in a team, you work for us, you work for each other, working towards a common objective which was being set in the very first meeting of the team. One important tip that I would want to give all of you all is, it is not important that if you're a team player, you need to be an extrovert. You need not be an extrovert. And extroverts are at times very, very bad listeners. So you need to understand that as an extrovert, yes, they have a good quality of mixing around with different set of people. People like them more because they express themselves pretty nicely. But people who are introvert, don't be disheartened. You can also be a very brilliant team player. It's because they reflect the skills like technical knowledge, they reflect overall development, they form a very essential part because they are the ones who are going to do the backside work, which is more important than just meeting people and talking to them. So the introvert people, please understand, it is not just the extroverts who are important to be in a team, but you play a major role in overall development of the team and the abilities of the team. Thank you, and we would be meeting soon for our next session. I would now want to address to any queries which have been put up by any of the students. Okay, the query says about what are the kind of questions you would see if ever, or you would experience when you go for an interview. Now when you go for an interview, people talk about, tell me one experience where you were a good team player. This is the typical question they ask. Or how can you say if you're a good team player? Or do you believe you're a good team member, or are you a good team leader? Tell us through an experience of yours. Now when I say that, when you get a question like that, please make sure they're not asking you to give any big team achievement, okay? They're asking you small achievements. A personal front achievement would also do, a professional front achievement would also do, at academic level achievement would also do, where you're working as a team. You tell them what was your participation, so you can tell any of these features. People I was the most reliable source because I was compiling things in the right way. I was very flexible as a team player when it came to them. I had a very good communication, so people trusted me more when it came to compiling or arranging things on a paper. So these are answers you basically give them. Then there are also questions where they ask you, do you think, or tell me some experience of yours about a team member or a team player. Now please understand, when they ask you an experience, you or some achievement you've done, you might not have achieved any prize, award, reward anywhere, but you can also say that what as a person you liked, what good thing you did, what bad thing you did, if you've made your parents proud somewhere. These are the answers you basically expect from people when they are asking you in an interview. Thank you and keep watching.